The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Non più tra i farfalloni amoroso, notte e giorno di torno girano, delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a dolcino d'amor. Delle belle turbando al riposo, Narcisetto a dolcino d'amor. Non più avrai questi bei panacchini.
Oh, there's so much I can say about this kind of stuff, and I got a feeling that I'm going to need to switch this over to a multi-part type thing. And this is getting very vloggy with me just sitting in front of the camera talking like this. So let's wrap this video up and get a little techie with the white balance effect. I have a set of 75s, 40s, and 60s right now. And I've got 60-watt versions of these LED bulbs. Let's grab it, just keep it in the frame. I have 60-watt versions of these in both soft white, which is traditional lighting like what we're using right now, and daylight, which is more of a neutral white, which I found works really well with my blue screen setup, but it just looks a little weird when I try using it for regular lighting. So anyways, let's do some playing around with the white balance here and see how orange I get. Right now, the way I do these vlogs is I white balance versus the color of the light. So the color of the light is considered white, and this place doesn't look as much like a Boston cream donut. But we're running 75s right now as the main lights here. So we're running the main lights at 75. Now I'm going to open this thing up, and I'm going to mess around with the white balance. And let's flip the white balance, if I can get it with my thumb here, flip it over to auto mode. So with the old GE Reveal combo bulbs, it was rather orange. Now it looks more like golden yellow and stuff. So this is at 75. So this is what this white balancing looks like at 75. Let's try 60s, 40s, and 60 daylights and see how things work with this kind of stuff. And here is how the magic is happening. I swapped out the torch lamps for this loft with these ones that I was originally going to use for the downstairs to have a main light and a reading light, but I got this crazy idea. You know, I don't need full brightness all the time. What if I had regular lights and then the lowest wattage bulbs I can get for when I'm like playing video games and stuff and I don't need all this light, or if I'm watching a movie or something like that. So what I can do is I can actually use the switches on them to shut off the main light and just drop down to a 40 watt or a 40 watt equivalent, which is 7 watts on the LED spectrum. So let's switch everything over to 40s and see what everything looks like. The only problem, I'm probably going to have to take these stickers off because they probably cast some shadows. I can't turn this screen thingy like I can up here because it snaps into place. So let's drop down to 40s, and then we'll swap the regulars with 60s, and then 60 daylights, and see how the white balancing looks. Alright, we're now running off of the alternate lights, which is a pair of 40s. Which draw only 7 watts apiece. Yeah! So this is the alternate light setting that I want to have for watching movies and playing games and stuff like that. So that way I can turn my LCD TV, which is the old school cold cathode LCD TV from 5-6 years ago. I can turn the backlight all the way down to 0 and the screen's still adequately bright for me to get things done. One thing I was running into, particularly with the 100-watt version of these LED bulbs, is that I was actually starting to have trouble seeing the TV because the room was too bright. So that's when I got the idea, hey, I got these reading light lamps downstairs that I was going to use in the living room for like reading and stuff, but actually I can make better use of these things with a regular lighting setup and an alternate lighting setup that isn't as bright. So that's basically what I'm doing here. Alright, so we're white balanced to the color of the bulbs. Now we're going to just flip around in the menu here. And let's see what happens when we switch the white balance back to automatic. Yeah, a little bit more goldenrod and stuff like that. So here's what I look like with white balance. Now, the GE Reveals that I was using, I was actually using, these were the ones I was using earlier. These are 60 watt equivalent GE Reveal combo bulbs that start out as halogen and switch to CF after the CF thing warms up a little. These things are a little less warm So the light was actually a little more flesh colored. So if you look back at previous videos, that was with these running in compact fluorescent mode. And so if I turned off the white balance on the camera, I'd actually go orange here. So this is with 240s. Let's see, these were 60 equivalents. Let's switch to 260s, soft white, and then see what everything looks like at 60 watts, and then finish this experiment off with the 60 watt daylight colored ones. Okay, we're now rolling with 260s. Here's one of the 75s, still cooling off. And this is the so starting out in white balance mode with we're white balance to the bulbs, similar to what I would have done. So this is the light level that I would have had in my previous videos when I was still using these things. Roughly the amount of light and stuff like that. All the color of the light out of these is not GE reveal color, so everything's a little more yellow than it would have been. But I hopefully have this camera is more has better white balancing than it would have before. Here's my top concern with these things. This part where the circuitry is hotter than the actual globe, which makes me worry about turning them upside down. Can the heat is the heat going to be able to dissipate properly from these things, or are they going to cook their own circuitry if they run for too long? Especially the 100 watt versions of these. I've been wondering why the 100 watt versions of these things have what look like look like claw things on them. I'm thinking, wait a minute, those might be heat sinks. Those might be heat sinks to help the heat radiate away from the circuitry. Plus, another problem with these bigger bulbs right now is that much like the big kahuna here, my first ever CF bulb, they're a little big. So you're talking about a device where there's no light coming out of here and it all comes out the top. So if you have a light fixture where it gets cut off here, you don't get much for light because most of it's just shooting up into the top of the fixture. So hopefully the manufacturers can address these issues. Maybe make something similar to, look at the difference, just look at the difference here, maybe make something similar to these later on once the technology gets a little more mature. Alright, it's white balance time. These are 60 soft whites. We're currently white balance to, we're currently white balance to the camera, or to the bulbs. So let's go back into automatic mode, with this thing will register this touch screen will register properly. Going a little, and we're a little more goldenrod. And we're a little more goldenrod, just like with the 75s. So yeah, the lighting, I suppose, for at 60 watts is okay. All right, now for the big change. We're going to swap these bulbs with 60 watt daylights. Ready for a big change in the color palette of this camera thing here? Anywho. Okay, we've switched to daylight bulbs now. And I'm not seeing much of a difference in the recording, but we are still white balanced to the light bulbs. Let's switch this back to automatic mode. Now, previously, switching to white balance automatic mode would make me look all orange or yellow. So what happens if we go to switch? Huh, interesting. But the way these things look is very weird. It just I should probably try these at like the 75 or 100 watt level, but I don't really have all kinds of money to be spending on bulbs that might not be appropriate here. I am able to salvage the wasted money on these daylight bulbs because these neutral white bulbs are very good for blue screening. They're awesome for blue screening. I've already played around with a little, so I could probably do some blue screenema where I blue screen myself into a video game. But as far as regular lighting goes, they just look weird. And this place isn't the right color for them. There's a little bit of beige and yellow going on, so warmer lights would probably look a little better. Or maybe I should try a higher wattage, maybe like a 70 or a higher wattage equivalent, like a 75 equivalent or something like that, because these are 60s. But these actually work really well, despite their colder, more neutral white light. These actually work rather well with blue screen setup. So I'm going to see what happens when I switch from blue to green, see if that helps things any. But just the more neutral light that you don't have to white balance against, because right now, I mean, the camera's running in automatic mode, and it looks the way it does. Just shows really how just what a difference the color of the lighting can make. Oh, by the way, don't try to mix them together. Yeah, see, look at the change already just by turning on the warmer 40 watt. And I look like that just looks weird. Yeah, don't try to mix the two because they don't work together. They don't work well together. All right, it's time to switch back to the regular bulbs and take these suckers back downstairs for the blue screen setup. And let there be 100-watt soft white LED light. And here is the net result of some of the cleaning that I've been doing lately. Living room's accessible again. Got some more clutter to clean up. Got some old lamps that I'd like to get rid of. And these might look familiar. These are now downstairs. I gotta clean these things up too. Ooh, look at all the dust and bugs and crap. Yeah. Well, the cleanup continues, but here we are with the new location of the project table. So I can actually get my blue screen type setup back. I want to try and clean up in that other room as well. So here we are with a small light, with a small plug-in lamp thingy, with the first CF bulb that I ever picked up. Does it still work? In 3, 2, 1. Yes, it does. Don't know what I'm going to use it for. It's too heavy to hang upside down. It needs to be right side up, and it actually has a decent warm-up time. No idea what I'm going to use it for, but we'll figure something out. Good to know that it still works after all these years. I mean, we're talking about an old CF bulb that I picked up back in 2005. Back even before this became a big news issue that it is. Good to see that it still works all these years later, though. Anywho. So, some concluding remarks here. It is good to be back. It is good to be back, and it is good to be finally installing some somewhat affordable solid-state lighting. This is not the end of the discussion on solid-state lighting either. I still got to run the numbers, work out the total cost of ownership, how much it takes, how long these things have to operate before they become worth it versus last year, the year before, etc. But I intend on continuing this discussion at a later date. But anyways, well, for now at least, this bulb, it's had its day. And I very much, actually my folks are still using incandescents, and they're curious if maybe they'll want some of these too. I actually have a glut of these 26-watt, 100-watt equivalents that they could make use of if they so wanted to in their lamps, probably in their lamps and stuff. But the big thing though, the reason why I wanted to go with a major brand like GE is because it's lessons learned from dealing with these things. The ones that I've had get all wobbly and stuff were off-brands or bargain brands. These GEs that I have have actually held themselves together, even when upside down or in a fixture like this, a lot better than their off-brand bargain brand counterparts. Likewise, I'm going to recycle some duds, probably either tomorrow or sometime during the week. I'm going to recycle some duds at local hardware stores like Lowe's and stuff in the area, and I want to see how many of the bulbs that I've had issues with that have either shorted out and blown the breaker or just plain burned out before their time. How many of those were bargain off brands? But so yeah, even though Walmart and Target both have bargain brand bulbs like Great Value and Up, and actually the Target bulbs, the light that comes out of those Target bulbs is actually a little bit cooler. They're 3,000 kelvins instead of 3,000 K or kelvins or whatever it is instead of 2,700 K, whereas the daylight bulbs are 5,000 K. But these, even though there are bargain brands out there, I'm not so sure I really want to try them yet. I really want to try these, start with a major brand, and maybe experiment with bargain brands later. Plus, I don't want to be buying spare bulbs at all. These things are way too expensive to have bulbs that aren't being buy bulbs that aren't being used. So if I don't use these 75ers here, I need to find a place to use them. Period. But it looks like my days of using these squiggly things are numbered, and I very much look forward to the day when we'll look back on these squiggly compact fluorescents and all non-solid state lighting, and talk about non-solid state lighting the same way we now talk about non-solid state electronics. And hopefully these things continue becoming more and more affordable and more mainstream. This is not the end of the discussion on the light bulbs. We will resume this at some later date. But for now, it is good to be back. Rejoice, those of you who have been waiting for me to put together a video for who knows how long. And stay tuned, because we've got a lot to do on this channel, and I've got a lot to do around here too, even when I finish up the chores and get everything all rearranged and stuff. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.